Well, got to take the boat to the shop tomorrow up at Bass Pro Shops. A couple videos ago, I filmed a fishing trip to Lake Miccosukee here in town, and wound up hitting something out there, going about half, 3/4 throttle, and really hit the motor hard, so the throttle seems to be messed up. Not really sure how that's related, but I guess it shook loose, maybe some of the throttle cable connections or something like that. So I haven't been fishing in a couple weeks, and so I haven't really been able to post much fishing content, so I've just been doing the plastics and having fun with that. So I've got to take her in tomorrow to get her fixed up so that hopefully we can get back on the water and film a few more fishing episodes. So that brings me to today's video. So obviously it can't be a fishing video, so we're doing more plastics. Welcome back to another episode, everybody, of the World's Worst Fishing. I'm Chris Jones, and recently, in the last few weeks, as the channel's kind of grown up a little bit, I've been getting, a lot of comments and emails asking, how do you get started making plastics? Where do I even go to buy the materials? What materials do I need? What colors do you recommend? What brands do you recommend? Can you do more tutorials, things like that? So today's video is going to be like the complete guide to getting started with plastics, and I'm pretty much going to show you everything that you need to get started, talk about the different types of molds, different types of colors, different additives that you'll need, places to buy them. I'll put some links in the description below for some molds, injectors, things like that, and this is going to be everything you need to know to get started with plastics. Okay, so the first thing you need is obviously Plastisol. And Plastisol, if you've never, if you haven't actually gotten started yet and you've never seen it, it pretty much just looks like milk, although I'm sure it does not taste like milk. And what this is flexible PVC resin mixed with plasticizer. And plasticizer is what makes it soft and gives it its flexibility. Plasticizer is basically worm oil, which you can buy separately to add to the bags and make the baits look oily. And before you shoot your molds, before you prepare your plastic, every time you want to stir the plastic. Now I buy it in a 55-gallon drum, so I have a big drum and I use a huge electronic drill with a humongous stirring bit to really stir it up. But the reason you want to stir it every time is for that reason right there. If you see that that clump, that is the flexible PVC resin, and as the plastic sits, that sinks to the bottom, and that's called hard packing. So you want to stir really well, because if you don't, your baits will not have the proportionate amount of resin in the plastic to the plasticizer, and they're going to come out softer than you want them to. So step number one is to mix up your plastic. So basically what I've done is I've laid out a complete spread of pretty much everything that I use. Now obviously this isn't all my colors, it's not all my glitter, all my molds, etc. But there's nothing here, there's nothing that I don't use, or that I do use that is not here. Sorry, kind of got tied up there. So to get started, your first purchases need to be Plastisol. Again, it needs to be a hand injector, which is basically just a humongous aluminum syringe. And then you need your first few molds. And I recommend just buying 1 or 2 molds to start and just get your favorite thing. If your favorite thing is a frog, get a frog. If your favorite bait is a fluke, buy a worm, whatever. and they're all CNC injection molds. They're 3D, they're designed in 3D CAD software, and you'll see that the way a mold is laid out, you have this opening, which is called the sprue, and then it feeds into the cavities. And so basically the plastic enters this way, it gets forced into the mold this way, and it pushes air out through these little lines, which are vents. And so mold manufacturers have to really do a good job of putting in the proper amount of vents. That way you don't get denting in the baits. So the first things you need to do are just get a hand injector and buy just 1 or 2 molds. Molds are very expensive. Even this little 2-cavity crawl bait mold is probably $50, $55, $60. It's been a while since I bought it. And then you just need a few colors. And colors come, I mean, there are more variety in colors than anything else, and they come in a lot of different sizes. So I recommend starting with just the little 1-ounce bottles or the 4-ounce bottles until you kind of learn what colors you like. And then you can get larger sizes, like this is 16 ounces of black grape. And just get a handful of colors. A great place to get colors is LureWorks, also LureCraft. LureCraft makes very good colors, and especially glitter. LureCraft glitter is the only glitter I use because it's actually made by Polycryl, also known as GlitterX, which has the monopoly on glitter. So the glitter on the side of your bass boat is this. It's the same high temperature polyester glitter that we put in our plastics. But we'll get to the glitters in a minute. So you have your normal liquid colors, and you always need to shake them up very, 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 very hard. They kind of hard pack a little bit towards the bottom themselves, but starting out with just a few colors is really all you need, because when you first start, your baits are not going to come out looking all that pretty. You know, you've got to learn your formulas, you've got to learn how to cook the plastic, not overcook the plastic, add the right amount of flake. You know, you don't need to buy 30 colors to learn how to make plastics. You want just a few colors. Start with the basics: watermelon, pumpkin, June bug, blue, black grape, and just learn how to make the colors look good. That would be my recommendation. And then you have highlight. Highlight powder is really cool. If I put highlight powder into the plastic, it does not change the color of the plastic, but it gives it a blue outer sheen. Check out a color that Zoom makes called Glimmer Blue, and it is a blue highlight base, similar to my color, mint chocolate chip. Then you also have pearl powders, and pearl powders are really, really great to work with. That's what the actual powder looks like. And again, as I said in one of my videos, when you're dealing with highlight powder or pearl powders, it's really important to stir. Stir as much as possible, because it will try to clump. And then here's a little bit of blue pearl. And pearls are really great. That's how you really get a good shad color or a blueback herring color, is to use pearls. And again, with glitter, there's a lot of different sizes of glitter. So 0.062, that's like the big size glitter. 0.035 is considered the medium size. Let's see, 0.15 is your normal small. And then you have the little teeny tiny stuff, 0.008. And again, this is all coming from LureCraft, which again, they don't necessarily manufacture their own glitter unless something's changed in the last few years. But pretty much all the glitter comes from one place. And so I recommend just buying it through LureCraft. And, once you start accumulating more glitters, you can buy containers like this, because, I buy it by the half pound. And, these are just old samples, like if I need to buy, like, let's say orange, I don't use that much, I'm not going to buy a half pound. But, for the more usable color glitters, I usually buy it by the half pound, and that seems to work really well. You can buy little containers, and you always want to label everything, make sure that you're good and organized, because once you have several, 50 to 100 different types of glitters, you don't want to have to look through them every single time. Another really important thing, and one of the first things that you need to buy, are Pyrex cups. Now, every plastics video you've probably ever seen, unless they have one of the injection machines or some of the pressure pots, everybody has these Pyrex cups, and it really is the best thing to use. They don't get super hot, they don't crack, they don't break, and they're really, really usable for hand pouring. So if I have an open mold, which I don't have anymore, all mine are injection molds, but they do make open pour molds, and you literally just pour it in. And that's where you can get really creative. You can pour in just one little line of one color, then pour another line, and you can get the core shot effect doing that. You can literally make like a 10 laminate bait hand pouring if you really want to spend the time to do that. And that's something that you actually can't do with the injection. So it really depends on just how creative you want to be. But you really want to get a few Pyrex cups. They're cheap. You can get them at Publix, Walmart, anywhere that sells home goods, even Target if you want to brave going to Target. I recommend both sizes. I recommend the full quart and then the half quart. You're going to use the half quart more often than not, but in my purposes, if I get an order for baits and they want a lot of one color, I'll probably mix up an entire one of these and it's going to do the job. You'll also need something to stir with. I'm just using cheap, butter knives from Walmart. Now, the bait making material websites like LureCraft, they sell actual stirring rods, which are actually better. I would recommend doing that. Just old habits die hard, and I really haven't had a reason to replace these, so I haven't really needed to. Another really important thing is a little teaspoon. I recommend getting aluminum ones. If you get plastic ones, the glitter really sticks to it. But this is what you'll need to scoop out your glitters and know that you're getting the right amount. So most of my formulas are done by the measuring cup. So I would fill it up to here. And then, okay, I know I need a half teaspoon of black and a quarter teaspoon of purple, and that's what I need. And you know that you're getting the same consistent formula every time. One of the most important things is a heat gun. A laser heat gun. These are also cheap. You can get those at your hardware store or Walmart again. And that is super important when you're doing laminates. You really need both sides to be a very equal temperature so that they fill the mold equally on both sides of the bait. So, to get started, it's really not that complicated. You really just need to look around. There's several places you can buy molds and injectors. By far, my favorite injector is this one. It's the Bait Junkies injector. I think the guy that owns it, Leonard, he designed these. And this is a great injector because of this handle. And instead of having to twist off the cap, it just pops off. It literally just fits on, and then you lock it in. And then to do laminates, you'll also need this piece of equipment. This is known as the twin injector. It's actually quite expensive. I think they're about $300. But this is how you do the two laminates. And this one's made by Bass Tackle. And so it fits into this nozzle right here. And what it does is it literally directs both streams of plastic into one nozzle. It's as simple as that. Color A, color B, then they meet in the middle. And those are your two primary injectors that you'll need. You'll need a single injector and then a double injector, and pretty much the sky's the limit at that point. There's almost nothing that you cannot make with just these simple things. I mean, you need a handful of molds, these two injectors, a couple Pyrex cups, just one or two colors, and 3 or 4 glitters to start. And that's pretty much it. So another important thing that you see me use in all of my videos is heat stabilizer. And this isn't necessary to get started. However, once you get to a point to where you want your baits to be consistent without the color deteriorating, this right here basically saves the day. So one of the most important things is ventilation. if you've never done this, believe me, you cannot even imagine all the fumes that will fill up your room or garage or whatever your work area is. The amount of fumes is absolutely, it'll just run you out of here. So the most common way to do this is to do it in your garage. You'll want to build a table on one of the walls, and I like to set up box fans on one side of the table that blows into another box fan facing out of my garage. And so what that does is it will push any fumes towards that fan, and then that fan will draw the fumes in and push them out that side and out towards the open. You do not want to be breathing in plastic fumes without ventilation. There's no way that can be good for you. And if you scorch the plastic and burn it, you'll know the smell is unbelievable, and it's actually toxic at that point, and you'll need to leave the area and shut everything down and ventilate, and come back at a later time and clean up, because you do not want to breathe that stuff in. So a proper work area is just as important as a mold. You cannot cheat yourself on ventilation. So just real quick, another important thing to have are clamps. Now a lot of molds, when you buy them from the store, they will have these big bolts already mounted in them, and you can close them with basically these wing nuts similar to this. Now I like to take those off, especially when I have multiple molds, so that I can then take multiple molds and clamp them together. So for example, you'll see a lot of these in plastics videos, and I can literally just do this, tighten it up, and now I have all 4 molds clamped together. I would obviously put one on the other side, but this is how you can line up several molds and bang them all out quickly. Another common mold, another common clamp are just these little hand clamps, and that's for when you're only doing like 1 or 2 molds. I can literally do that and make a Cinco. So those are just a quick way just to clamp up a few molds. I use those a lot, especially for an easy mold like a Cinco, and that's really the only 2 style clamps I think you need. Okay, so now we're gonna take everything that we just went over and we're going to demonstrate. So I have measured out 1 measuring cup of plastisol in my Pyrex cup. I'm gonna go ahead, just dump a little bit of heat stabilizer in. Not too much, not really worried about this one. And now we're going to take some black grape. There we go. Lighting's a little weird because the sun is setting. And we're gonna really shake it up. This is something I usually do before I even turn the cameras on in my normal videos. So now we're gonna go ahead and remove the cap. Then we're gonna put some in. Now once you get familiar with your colors, you'll learn which ones are thicker and require more drops, and which ones, which ones are thicker and which ones are not as thick that require more drops. And then again, you need something to stir with, so I'm just gonna stir this up with my knife. Looking good, almost looks like June bug. And now the next step for me is to use the vacuum chamber. And I get a lot of questions about the vacuum chamber. So the vacuum chamber is basically an added bonus for me. It's something that I learned about from the guy who owns Bait Junkies. He does this to his plastic before he sells it. So you can actually buy plastisol from Bait Junkies, and he'll actually degas it before shipping it out. That way, hopefully, by the time you receive it, you don't get as many bubbles. So I got one for myself because I'm just really anti air bubbles and little micro bubbles in my plastic. A way around that is to use expensive plastic that is advertised to have low bubble count or heat up slowly. So when you're putting it in the microwave, do it at 30-second intervals and take it out, mix it up a little bit, and you want to stir slowly. The more you stir, you're actually stirring air into it. So heat it up slowly and stir it slowly, and you should be able to mitigate the amount of bubbles. But I just do it this way. It's faster and easier for me, but you don't have to have this to get started making plastics. Okay, so got our plastic ready here. And I don't really know what color I'm making. I'm just kind of using some stuff that I already had on the table. So this is black grape. We're just gonna add a little bit of little silver, what the heck. And since it's black grape, we're gonna use black grape. So again, this is a 1/4 teaspoon. That's usually enough for 1 measuring cup of plastisol. 1/4 teaspoon really shows up well. It's not too much, and I think it does a pretty good job. And so you can stir by just shaking the cup up a little bit, just kind of rotating it in, just kind of rotate it in a circle. And that's a way that you can stir the glitter in without using the knife, because the knife is going to stir a little bit of air back into it, and then you have to clean off your knife. So that's just a good way to do it right there. And be careful doing it. Don't spill your plastic. And one of the most important things that I forgot to mention earlier is gloves. Get a pair of heat gloves. These aren't really nice ones by any stretch, but they've got a good layer here, and this is the most important thing to have once your plastic is hot. So again, an injector is just a big syringe, so you want to make sure it's in the down position. Put the tip of it into the plastic and then draw up, and that's all you need to do. Transfer it over to your mold, put the tip of the injector into the sprue, and just nice and gently and slow press down until it stops, and you'll feel it stop. Hold pressure for a little bit, pull the nozzle out, and then top off the sprue. And then now we're going to do the other side and push down until it stops. And then you want to evacuate the plastic back into your cup. And then if I wanted to keep making baits, I would then probably take this cup and put it back in the microwave and maybe give it just another 30 seconds or so just to keep it warm until I can put this back in there. So, and that's how quickly the plastic sets up. You know, I can go ahead and clean out my injector, and that's it. You know, I can now take this plastic and remelt it and then shoot another round on these molds. And you know, that's actually really nice. I'll have to try and make this. I used to make a color that kind of looked like this, and I called it Purple Pizzazz. But that's really cool. It has the little silver in there, and the and then the purple flake. Nothing beats a little natural light on the baits, but man, those actually turned out really nice. I don't know if that's really coming through or not too well on camera. The sun's kind of below the trees now, but you know, that's not bad. I've never made that, and that just kind of goes to show, you know, how easy it is to be creative, and you can come up with some really cool things that you'll be excited to tell your friends about. You'll be excited to use it, and if you ever want to start selling baits, you'll be excited to sell them. Well, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I hope the video has been informative, and you know, maybe you've learned a little bit and gotten more confidence, and maybe want to get started doing it. It's not rocket science by any stretch, you know, but it does take a good amount of money to get started. I mean, my first investment was about $500, and that was with a full 5-gallon bucket of plastic. Now, you don't need 5 gallons of plastic to get started. I mean, you can get away with one, but you're going to go through it really quick, and then you're going to be hoping that you had some, or wishing that you had some more. But you know, it's not cheap to get into. You know, I mean, a good injector is $80. Molds are expensive. The plastic is expensive. But once you get started and cut your teeth, you'll have a great time being creative. All your fishing buddies will be over there constantly. Hey man, let's try this and try that. You know, it's actually really fun for everyone involved. And you know, I hope this video has shed a little light on that, and you know, maybe helped you learn what all you need to get started, and how simple it can be. Getting great formulas and making them look good definitely takes practice. I wouldn't say it's hard, but you're definitely going to need a few weeks to really get comfortable with it and comfortable with using all the materials. But that's going to wrap it up today. So thanks again for watching The World's Worst Fishing, and we'll see you next time.